We'll start with some basic operations for this wooden box. The beginner course covered these in detail. This course focuses on the project itself. The beginner course covers a wooden box in great detail, taking about 2 or 3 weeks. This course, however, because of the many props and our limited time, can't go into as much detail as the beginner course. So we need to pick up the pace. We'll be making 3 or 4 boxes a week. A substantial workload. Let's start making this box. If your foundation is weak, I recommend taking the beginner course first. It covers basic software operations and includes complete demonstrations. The beginner course goes into much more detail. Now, let's make this box. There are some details at the top of this box, like this metal part. Let's find some references. I found some other references. It's like this iron structure. Actually, we can combine it with the diagram. We can use this structure, combining it to solve the diagram. Because it's not very clear, we'll use this instead. This is clearer, so let's make it like this. The other proportions are correct. Now let's do this. We might need to add a lock first. A lock. Let's simplify that. Let's simplify the lock. Simplify it like this, no lock needed. Just make it like this. Okay. I'll put it here and create a plane. For this pattern, we'll use the screen to create the structure. Let's just do one corner. It's roughly like this. You can add lines like this, or use Alt+C to reduce them. It's symmetrical. Let's figure out how to make half. Then we'll do the symmetry. Later, with the symmetry. Just use the symmetry tool. Let's do a quick draft. Speed is key. Connect it first. This section is clearer. The middle section is a bit low, the symmetry isn't quite right. To make it symmetrical, let's finish one half first. Then mirror it. That's the basic approach. For the internal pattern, we'll use projection. Using projection means we skip modeling it in the mid-poly. For the mid-poly, we need to adjust the curves and add some edge loops. It might be a little heavy at the edges. We need to model this small protrusion. If we bake it directly, it'll look flat. We need that protrusion. If the box doesn't need to be super precise, baking it flat is fine. Unless you're inspecting it very closely. At close range, baking it directly onto the wood works. We designed this with the low poly's polygon count in mind. So we don't need a super dense mesh. Consider the polygon count of this low poly model. That is, we're doing both mid poly and low poly modeling. For this circle, use a cylinder. First shape it, then weld and test it. If you use manual cutting lines, it might not be so precise. Use a higher polygon count for the cylinder initially. This pattern takes a bit longer. For the top, select every other point. Then extrude it. After extruding, use the bevel tool. The effect isn't great. With the bevel tool, add a line. Then try to round the middle using the bevel. The bevel looks good, you can control the curve. Okay, done. Let's merge the middle section. Merge it directly. Yes, like that. Then we can adjust its coordinates. Let's check this point's coordinates, they seem irregular. We'll snap this coordinate to that point. Snap it to that point. Now, let's use the Move tool. Wait, where is it? Here's the Move tool. Let's move it. Let's check the distance. If the distances are the same, it's symmetrical, so we'll create it this way. Now, snap this point. Let's snap it to the middle. It's undulating in 4 sections. It's quite a bit of undulation. It's a little complex. Okay, it's symmetrical now. It's basically symmetrical. We just need to adjust one half. We'll copy the other half. This is our simple model. If you want it smoother, add another line. Okay. We'll remove the other side. This needs rotating. Let's rotate it 45 degrees so it aligns with the symmetrical line. Snap it here. Let's leave it for now. Okay, now we're done. Let's delete the other half. Delete half, keep half. Then combine these. Okay, this way we weld these 2 points. Now this is done. Okay, for the other half, adjust the center point. Press S to snap it here. Then we reset the snapping. We open 45, okay. Now it's good. But the proportions are a bit off. It's a little small, the middle part is a bit small. Let's scale the whole thing. It's difficult to control precisely. This way works. Let's copy the other half again. This works. Length 45. One moment, I need to reset. Okay, now it's correct. Okay, let's scale it first, based on the circle size. Let's compare them. The side still has some details. For this side, we'll just pull it down directly and copy it. For the side, let's do half first. Then simply mirror the other half. It's clearer here, it aligns better here. So let's just do this side. This part needs to be cut out. Just cut it roughly, and adjust the curve. We still need to add segments. There aren't enough segments. The most problematic are these curves, they're difficult to model. Because if you're snapping to lines, you need segments to snap correctly. Then we'll use FFD to adjust it. This allows for quick adjustments. Since it's all on one plane, it's easy to adjust. That's about right. Okay. This pointy part, move it down a bit. The key is to ensure that everyone is working on the same plane. If it's not on the same plane, there will be problems. Then I'll weld this point as well. Do it like this, then scatter the rest. Then copy it again, remember to reset. Then the model symmetry at 45 degrees is good, it's done. Once it's done, we'll add a shell. Add a shell, it'll look something like this. But the surface is a bit uneven because it's slanted. So the surface is uneven. Let's try adding the shell first. Then we'll adjust any uneven areas. Copying 03 out slightly is fine. Then we'll do this and auto-smooth it. It's basically fine. Let's see. If we drag this point slightly, see the effect, the inner points go in slightly. That looks okay too. And slightly adjust this point as well. We can't move it. Let's try to make it flatter. If it's uneven, the low poly model will have problems. Okay, let's auto-smooth it again. Okay, that's done. Once it's done, just copy it. Make it symmetrical. Then do it again symmetrically. For the bottom, let's check. Using the same one works too. Let's just use the same one, because this pattern is a lot of work. If we make the bottom different, it's too much work, it's not worth it. Besides, the bottom is hardly visible. We can just make one and copy it. This works for the bag, the iron, or the metal. Then just copy it, we're done. Okay, that's all for this lesson.